got over on our Facebook and YouTube and a lot of other social media platforms. So this is a comment from Mike Devine, who is a pretty outspoken guy here in Poway and social media, talking about the resignation of Poway City Councilman Barry Leonard. And we were speculating on our last podcast of who is likely to be a candidate for that job to fill Barry Leonard's open seat, whether it's an appointment or an election. And there's a lot of people that were speculating that John Couvret could be that person. You know, John Couvret is the husband of Ginger Couvret, who already serves on the Poway Unified School Board. And Mike says, yeah, Couvret is a great guy, but to be fair, I would have thrown some of the names out there. He says, the whole anti-farm crowd, many of whom live in Green Valley and around Stone Ridge, can run on the program of infringing on private property rights. We had a bunch of speakers at the city council meeting. Yeah, this is, the city council meeting last week, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in our next slide. But let me just say, I agree with you, Mike, from the perspective of property rights. I think one of the problems and why this has gotten so contentious with the farm in Poway is that it went to a public vote. And you now have voters deciding what developers can and cannot do. And some people think that's righteous. But Kevin McNamara, who's running that project, he did commit, to a much smaller fitness club. And he said there would be no changes. But at the same time, the world has changed, and tennis is not nearly as popular, and now it's pickleball, and there are some things that have evolved in the market. And as an entrepreneur, he wants to change. And as a private property owner, I think he should have that ability. But in Poway, because of our rules, because of Prop FF, and because of this Measure P that we had in 2020, he can't. So from that perspective, I agree with you, Mike. Now, but the rule is, the law is that development has to follow the rules of Measure P. And that's the big question, is are they going to do that? So let's go to the next comment. This is from Wee Snapple. And I was commenting on this notion of democracy under fire in Poway, because all these people were at our city council meeting. They were angry. They were upset. And then on top of it, they were in the public speaking where you normally get 3 minutes to share their thoughts and opinions. And they got cut off at 2 minutes, which is a bad look on the city council's part. I don't like it when government's abridging speech. It's like First Amendment stuff, right? But people were limited in what they could say. There was a lot of people that were angry about the Lifetime Fitness project. There were even some business people there that said they had written agreements in place that their business was going to be part of the farm, that have now suddenly been blown out of the water because of this Lifetime Fitness project. So there's a lot more going on here, which we're going to do some digging and learn more. But from Wee Snapple, this person said, we've been interested in the farm community. What's the current status of the fitness club and how intrusive it would be for residents? Well, obviously, if you're thinking of buying in the farm, then you really need to talk to the developer. I think it's Leonard who's building there, and they'll be able to tell you the story. I'll just tell you what I know is that they're building, and there's been a lot of construction there. There's a lot of people already moving in. There's talk now of putting in this Lifetime Fitness. And I think the city council ultimately is going to have to rule one way or the other, because it's a change to Measure P, a change to the plan. And the voters voted on Measure P, and they were promised there would be no changes. So then the question becomes, what's the right thing to do? If there is a legitimate need to change, who should make that decision? The property owner, the city council, or the voters? And, I think that's the debate right now. And I think a lot of the voters said it should be us, because that was the whole point in overturning Prop FF in that community. That was the whole point of having Measure P, is the voters are able to decide. So we're going to see. There's been no formal decisions. I know that Kevin McNamara is pushing hard to get this fitness, Lifetime Fitness Center set up there. He believes this is going to be a big upgrade for the city of Poway. And it does look interesting to me. It's a 2-story building. It's a big building. It's not just a little local yokel workout place. So we're going to find out. I think this is still evolving, and we're still hearing a lot of people in the community are upset. The city council hasn't ruled one way or the other, but keep your eye on this story. We're going to find out a lot more in the next month or two. Okay, another comment here. This is also from Mike Devine on our live stream. And we were commenting about how the city of San Diego was widening the roads on Highway 56, which I think was a good thing. But, a lot of people were upset about it, particularly mass transit proponents and climate change agenda folks. They were not happy with this. Well, Mike Devine said, why is everything based on this false religion of climate change? From electric cars to freeway prevention to mass transit, the purpose is for serving the residents and making travel safer, more efficient. Let's do that and stop this climate change BS. Climate change works against our goals. All right, Mike. Well, I agree and disagree. So I agree with you that we need to have travel to be safer, more efficient, especially as the San Diego County grows, as more people are moving in, as they're doing more development, there's going to be more transportation needs in the county. And right now, there's parts of San Diego County that today are a disaster when it comes to freeways, and Highway 56 can be pretty rough there at times. I think it's a good idea for them to widen that. Marnie von Wilpert, our city councilwoman in San Diego, said that she reluctantly voted for this because she really wished they would have integrated more mass transit in that area. But, if they're going to put mass transit into Carmel Valley, they want to bring a trolley up there or whatever they have in mind. That's going to take years, if not decades, to do. And right now, you've got a problem. They can't wait. So it makes sense to widen that freeway. But climate change is not false. Climate change is real. It's scientifically proven. Temperatures are increasing. Now, you can ask the question is, what should local government do? Should local government base their decisions on climate change? That's a debatable point. I think there are opportunities for city governments to have climate change agendas, climate change plans, and do it in a way that is actually beneficial to the city and actually saves the city money. Particularly if cities are investing in electric vehicles for their fleet of cars that the government runs, and for solar, for government facilities, for government buildings. That makes sense to me. But to your point, I do kind of agree. Sometimes it makes you wonder, what do they prioritize more? Is efficient transportation the primary, or is climate change the primary? What's the objective here? And say what you will about fossil fuels, but fossil fuels have tremendous benefits to society. I mean, there's no way human civilization is what it is without fossil fuels. So we have to, on one hand, we could say, okay, climate change is real and there's things that we can do to mitigate that. And, I'm a big EV driver and I like EVs. They're fun to drive. There's a lot of financial incentives to do it. But at the same time, they have to be able to implement policies that just frankly make sense. Policies that are good for transportation. And as technology continues to improve, even fossil fuel vehicles, fossil fuel machinery is becoming more and more efficient, more and more, how should I say, less and less polluted. That'd probably be a better way to put it. So I think there are ways that we can kind of do both. Now, as it pertains to Highway 56, widen that bad boy. I predict the future of this is, I think digging tunnels for subways and building concrete overpasses for trolleys is 20th century thinking. Because it's mass transit will never get you from your doorstep to your ultimate destination. I believe the future instead are automated EVs. An automated EV, a driverless car that you can hail like a taxi that'll show up at your doorstep and drive you to your ultimate destination. A future where people choose not to own cars. A future where the vehicles are all electric, or they're hydrogen or some other alternative energy that are not emitting carbon. A future where these individualized pods can literally get you from your destination, from your source to your destination without any transfers, without any waiting. And when they're on the freeway, they can electronically synchronize and move efficiently and quickly as a swarm. So I think the computerized technology is going to make it safer, be less drunk driving, less distracted driving. I think that's the future. So these individualized pods can function as an individual car, but they can also link together and go as a group, kind of like a train or a subway, and then peel off as necessary as exits on freeways. And they can use the existing infrastructure without having to pay billions and billions of taxpayer dollars to dig holes for subways and to build overpasses for trolleys. So, but for now, 56 needs to be widened, and I'm glad they did that. Okay, I got one last comment here on the community forum here in San Diego, and then we're going to wrap up this podcast. And this is from B. Elliott. And we were talking about, this was a segment I did a number of months ago about the Amazon Fresh store in Poway. This is a grocery store that they put in at the intersection of Pomerado Road and Twin Peaks. And that used to be was like a world market, like an international market there for a while. Then they went out of business. I think prior to that, it was an Albertsons or a Stater Brothers or something like that. And Amazon came in, they were going to put in one of these Amazon Freshes in there, and they built all the infrastructure. And it was going to be one of these stores that was automated grocery shopping, where you can literally take products off the shelves, put it in your basket. It would scan them and tabulate them, and you'd have a little video screen on your shopping cart showing you your subtotal and your running total as you're going through the store. And because it was linked to your Amazon account, you wouldn't even have to go through the checkout process. You could just walk out the door and it would charge your card. And I just thought, this is the greatest thing ever. This is cool. I was looking forward to this Amazon Fresh getting started, but then Amazon put the brakes on it. And a lot of people in Poway were saying, well, what's going on? Why are you doing this? Why are you stopping this project? Well, according to B. Elliott, this person said it's because they curtail expenses and decided to exit certain stores with low growth potential. They've been halting expansions with a lot of sugar-coated excuses, but it comes down to closing out its weakest year of growth in its quarter century as a public company, and is cutting costs after an extended period of outsized expansion. Okay, so this is a cost-cutting measure by Amazon. And that kind of makes sense. You figure these Amazon Fresh stores are not their core business. It's kind of one of their entrepreneurial efforts that surround their core business. So maybe they kind of put the brakes on that, and that's why. But they sunk so much money into the infrastructure. I mean, I saw them when those doors were open on that grocery store. They were trenching, and then they poured concrete because they were putting in all of these. I don't know if it was coax cable or Ethernet or fiber optics, to have an automated store with all this technology infrastructure built into it, which I thought was so cool. I don't know if we're ever going to get a chance to see it. So now we've got this empty grocery store. Amazon obviously must be paying the rent, but maybe when Amazon Corporation, they kind of come back and have some better years, maybe they might say, okay, now let's try this. So I don't know what's going to happen. Do you know? Is this store going to open in Poway? I don't know. And by the way, Amazon's been in business for a quarter century. Oh my God, that's true. Because I know I've seen those pictures of Jeff Bezos at his little pop-up table with his Amazon banner. And that's like 1996, 97 when he started it. So yeah, it's been a quarter of a century that they've been in business, and they've probably been public for about that long too. Amazing. Okay, friends.